Some of us feel that because we are now on the path of spiritual awakening, or that we've elevated our consciousness, that you will now not be able to feel any negative vibrations or any vibrations that are not at your own frequency. Well, that's not quite true. So if you walk into places, there are some places that you come out of and you feel psychically attacked. And psychic attacks don't even have to be intentional. Someone could think something about you that isn't quite nice, or someone might be jealous, someone might think, oh, why are you so successful? Why aren't they? They may not even realize that they're looking at you in a certain way, which is maybe even envious. Not just that, people might be thinking about you, people might be projecting. And you go into these places, or you may go into certain places that already hold within them certain thoughts that become entities in themselves. Entities in themselves meaning that that place, because it is frequented by a particular thought, right? So that thought in itself becomes a particular energy. So that energy sits in that particular place. And so when you go in there, you will feel it. And for most of you that are very sensitive, highly sensitive, empaths on a spiritual awakening path, where you're more in tune with the energetic atmosphere, you will feel it. Yeah. So the question isn't about whether you're then attracting that sort of thing around you. No, it's not that you're attracting it. It's always around us. All of those things are always around us. We can go anywhere and you're going to be able to see both. You will see things that elevate, things that denigrate. You will see both happening everywhere. And you'll see darkness, you'll see light. So the question is, that when you are surrounded with all of this and you go into spaces with all of this, what do you do? Do you shake it off, or do you get absorbed into that feeling? And will you know when you've come back from this experience that indeed you are going through that experience, or will you suddenly find yourself in a bad mood, or feeling drained, or feeling tired, and you may put it down to something else, not realizing that actually it was a particular place you went to and it's not you. So that, folks, is where this becomes important to us, and where it will then tell us where we are. Now, if we're going into these places, we're dipping in and out of these places, we recognize certain vibrations, we recognize certain feelings it might bring out in us, we recognize how we experience this inside of us. We then also know that what is happening there when we're dipping in and out of this is not who we are, but it is simply that we acknowledge that that is there, and you shake it off you. Rather than you becoming a part of that meaning that you make it part of your reality by mixing with it, by reacting with it, by becoming one with it, so that you now attach an impression. Yeah. So you would have had a feeling, or something happens, and then you have this idea about that place, and that this is that this place is like, and so that'll repeat. So every time you go there, you'll come back, and you'll come back affected. So what we would like is that, yes, you know that is the case, but you don't absorb it. Now, when we are absorbing it, some of us will absorb it, then the question is, how do we shake it off? You shake it off by acknowledging it. You shake it off by realizing that that is not you. It is not any inner negativity. It's not any inside work that you've still got to do. And you shake it off. Now, when you find that you're unable to identify that there are these things that are happening to you, and it could be a place, it could be a people, it could be something outside. When you're unable to identify that, when you're unable to identify the source of this train of mood, thought, emotion, and feeling throughout the day, when you're unable to identify the root of it, then there may be something here that then goes back into us. So then we become enmeshed with our surrounding. When we are enmeshed with our surrounding, so that there's no difference, yeah, then we are our surrounding. Then that's a case of, okay, so we are really that. We're really that is being reflected. So that's when we say that there is something that we've still got to work on, or there's something that you've got to acknowledge. So the more you come into yourself, the more you identify with what is you, what is your identity, yeah. So that's when you realize, wait a minute, I was enmeshed. That's not me. When I go into these places, think of any example, an everyday example. It could be you walking at a certain place. It could be you going into supermarkets. It could be you going into certain aisles in supermarkets. It could be you doing school runs, going to certain places, going to certain people's homes. Anything. It could even be you in an office when you have a conversation with a colleague. Anything. But when you come out of it, you will feel a certain way. And for some of you, you will feel a certain way for such a long time before you actually realize the source of why you've been feeling that way. And folks, in a way, when we are highly sensitive, it's a gift, and it could be seen as a curse as well when we start to experience this. The curse is there because of all these other things that we don't want to experience, like the fatigue and the pain and the suffering. But folks, nevertheless, it is still a flux of energy. It is still a flux of life. Either way, whether if it's a gift, whether it's a curse, it's still a flux of energy. It's still a flux of life. So you go with it, whatever it is, but we don't identify with either, so that you're living life fully engaged, fully immersed, either way. So you don't deny the suffering, or you don't deny the joy that comes with it. So when we always focus on the gifts, the love and the light and the beauty and the joy and the bliss, that I'm only going to tune into that, but I'm not going to engage with all else. I'm not going to give my power away. So when we start to have that kind of thinking, ask yourself, why are you even having to put that boundary or that mission or that sort of in place to say, oh, I'm going to steer clear from that? Yet you will find that you may not be able to stay clear of certain things because you're highly sensitive. So you will go in and out of places, in and out of things. And this is where, folks, your awareness comes in, and then you've got to honor these cycles inside of you. So if you are getting tired, you honor that. If you are feeling a certain way, you get to the root of why you're feeling a certain way. Yeah, but you let everything run its course, as opposed to trying to pigeonhole our feelings, trying to pigeonhole thoughts, trying to pigeonhole energy as well. But if you do feel these kind of movements with you, identify what it is, acknowledge it, take the respite that you need, and that's it, folks. Yeah, sending you so much love as always. Remember, just because you're now on a path, you're on your spiritual awakening journey, it doesn't mean that you are suddenly inoculated against anything that is at a different frequency to you. You may still see it, you may still witness it, you may still even tune into it, and it's okay, as long as you're not forcing yourself. You're not saying, oh, I'm going to shut myself from this or from that. Watch yourself, because unless, you see, you've got to bring yourself to a point when you are indifferent to either way, and you won't know that there is an indifference, or you won't know when you're neutral if you keep avoiding something. So when we avoid, then so when we are getting these experiences, folks, simply embrace them and see where it takes you. Yeah, your back is always covered, always covered. Sending you so much love. Take care.